Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's session of Roznama, the daily newspaper analysis. Today is the 18th of April, and what day do we celebrate on 18th of April? 18th of April marks World Heritage Day. Why World Heritage Day? Because on this day, ICOMOS, International Convention on Monuments and Sites, came into existence. All right, and this particular body, ICOMOS, is the same body which is responsible for verification of a large number of sites which want to or are supposed to or are in the process of being declared as a World Heritage Site. Okay, so do keep that in mind. Now coming to the first piece of news for today. So yesterday we all did see that the delimitation bill and the women reservation bill that was proposed by the government of India and which was to be the 131st Constitution Amendment Bill of 2026 was defeated. Why was it defeated? Because in order for an amendment to be passed in the parliament, the bill requires a minimum of 2/3 majority. And this 2/3 majority, this particular amendment could not achieve. Therefore, the bill came to an end and it was not passed. All right. Now, what was this bill? This bill was inclusive of the delimitation provisions as well as the implementation of the reservation for women. All right. So reservation for women, that is the Nari Shakti Bandhan Adhiniyam, was actually passed in 2023, and they had proposed that they are going to enforce the 33% reservation for women in the Lok Sabha, legislative assemblies, etc. after the limitation that is set to take place in 2026. However, this 2026 delimitation was postponed because we did not have the 2021 census, which was supposed to form the basis of the 2026 delimitation. Now, the 2026 delimitation has been postponed further to 2028, and the 2021 census data is what we will be receiving in 2027. So, provided all of this discrepancy, the government had finally decided that they would undertake the reservation of seats for women for the 2029 Lok Sabha elections. All right. Also, they said that this delimitation process could be a longer process, could not effectively be completed maybe in a very short span of time. So what they decided, they said that instead of waiting for the census data in 2027, the government decided to undertake the entire delimitation process by on the basis of 2011. All right. So this was one thing that they proposed. The second thing that they proposed in this was that the number of seats in the Lok Sabha were to increase from the present 550 seats to 850 seats. And then the basis for delimitation, which is population in the country, as per this basis, the southern states who have significantly reduced their total population would see a reduction in their seats as compared to North Indian states or the Hindi speaking states, which was assured against by the Home Minister, saying that the southern states are not going to lose onto their seats. The southern states don't lose onto their seats, but the northern states get an increase in their seats, amounts to the same mathematics. All right. And then the third problem or the third aspect of the bill was that as of now, delimitation was supposed to be, undertaken after every census. So after every census was removed. And the second thing was that they said that it would be undertaken as and how the parliament may specify. And the basis would also be determined as and how the parliament would specify. Now, if you are leaving everything again up to the parliament, then naturally you are vesting too much of powers in the party that has majority seats in the parliament. So looking into all of this, there were a large number of people who did not agree to vote in favor of the bill, and therefore it did not achieve 2/3 majority, and the present amendment failed in the constitution, okay, in the parliament. Now the amendment failed, the opposition stood strong, and what was the score? So out of the 528 members who were present in the house, 298 voted in favor and 230 voted against it. None of the voters, they abstained, and because couldn't achieve the 2/3 marks, the bill failed. All right. Then we naturally have a lot of you know insights into what was the entire how what was the entire everything that was happening in the parliament that day, yesterday, that is, and how a lot of things happened and how it was very, very hectic. The day was full of drama, etc., etc. And then eventually the bill was defeated. So this defeat of the bill actually marks the first major defeat of any legislative action of the BJP government in the parliament since 2014. The BJP government has always had effective majority. It was in this third term of the Prime Minister and the BJP government that the BJP government had a significantly less population, which naturally has finally showed one of its, uh, you know, comebacks, that the bill got defeated. Okay. All right. Then the next is that finally a truce has been agreed to, and a mutual truce has been agreed to between Iran and the United States of America. And along with that, also truce or ceasefire has been accepted in case of the Israel-Lebanon war as well. So Iran has agreed to open the Strait of Hormuz and permit the passage of all ships till the ceasefire period. And then both of them are negotiating as to how to bring about a peace agreement between the two countries, where again the entire agreement and all the talks are to be centered around the nuclear energy enrichment, etc. Okay. Iran has declared that the port would be open, and we have international leaders like the Prime Minister of Britain and the French President who have appreciated, who've lauded the opening of the Strait of Hormuz, and now finally the energy crisis in the global world order would come to an end. And also they have asked for, they've sought security for their ships that are going to be navigating across the Strait of Hormuz. All right. A 10-day truce has been declared between Israel and Lebanon, and as this truce has started to materialize, where we did see towards a mid of the Israel-Lebanon war that Israel had captured the southern Lebanon up to the Litani River. So we did see a lot of people who lived in the southern Lebanon region had fled the region and started settling elsewhere. Now, because it is a truce period, they have decided to come back home. All right. So resettlement have begun, and Trump says that Israel has been prohibited from undertaking bombing of Lebanon, and also a lot of countries, they have, they have criticized the bombing of Lebanon by Israel. All right. Also, the Lebanese government has said that they are going to mutually discuss a peace agreement between the two countries, and the Lebanese government has also said to break their ties with Hezbollah. All right. Then India has also welcomed the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, and India also did condemn the entire attack on Lebanon by Israel. Okay. Then coming to the editorial analysis, the first one is on delimitation, how the delimitation bill couldn't be passed, what were the members who voted, how many were the members who voted in favor of it, how many of it did not vote in favor of it, and how this could actually be one of the major feats of the India bloc in the parliament. All right. So do go through this article. Then this article is on the temporary truce that is said to be between the US, Israel, and Iran, and how they are negotiating in terms of finally brokering a peace deal between the two countries. And we've also, the article also moves forward to include news pieces on Lebanon, that how the Lebanese government is also very adamant on the peace agreement between Israel and Lebanon, and wants to distance itself from Hezbollah. All right. Then this particular article basically tells us that why women reservation is a must and it shouldn't be, you know, delayed any longer. It shows us a good comparison between the number of women MLAs, number of women MPs, and how their number is much meager as compared to their male counterparts, and why is it necessary to have women reservation in the country. Because when you have women, then only in the parliament, in the legislature, only then can concerted programs etc could be undertaken for women upliftment in the country. All right, then this article is on India slipping to being the 6th largest economy now. India was the 4th largest economy till last year. Now India has become the 6th largest economy. Now, what are the various reasons that are cited for it? So one of the reasons that are cited is that India has revised its GDP estimates. That India said that its base year for GDP would now be 2022-23. As per this revised estimates, whatever the previous data that India was collecting, that overestimated India's GDP as compared to the recent base year. All right, so that is one thing which has significantly shown a negative impact on India's GDP. Then the next is that because of the present oil crisis, we've seen much inflation in the country. Because of this inflation, also the rupee dollar ratio has also significantly been devalued. All right, so these are the various reasons that they've cited, and it is due to this that now India has become the 6th largest economy and is now behind Japan and UK, that India had surpassed to become the 4th largest economy. Now coming to the news in brief, the Myanmar's ex-president, that is Aung San Suu Kyi, who was also a Nobel laureate, Nobel Peace Prize awardee. After the 2021 military coup in Myanmar, she was captured and she was imprisoned, and there were massive allegations on human rights violations and corruption against her. However, now Halang, after he took up power as the new president of Myanmar, he has released her from prison and has also reduced her sentence, and her death sentence has been pardoned. And along with her, we have other around 4,000 people whose death sentences have been changed. All right, so do go through this article. Then this article is just a further confirmation by the government of India that the government of India would not be hosting the COP28 of UNFCCC that India had bid to host in 2033. Sorry, COP33 in 2028. And that India had bid to host, but however, India has withdrawn from hosting it. And now, along with India, we also had South Korea who had bid to host it, but now South Korea has agreed. South Korea is the only bidder left. So as of now, we only have South Korea. So in all probability, South Korea will be hosting COP33 to be held in 2028. Do keep in mind COP31 this year in 2027 co-hosted by Turkey and Australia. COP32 next year would be hosted by Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. All right. Then IMF and World Bank, they have restored their relations with Venezuela after Trump, through Operation Absolute Resolve, took over, captured the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and after that, naturally, relations between Venezuela and all international organizations were significantly strained. However, now both of these organizations, they have restored their relations with Venezuela, which would naturally entail that Venezuela would be extended loans and other financial help through the organization. All right, so that is all for today's newspaper analysis, and I'll see you all soon with the next one. Thank you.